Shall I start, Gary?
Yes, you may.
Okay. So good afternoon or good morning, everyone. And welcome to our first ever Portugal trade mission. And this one is virtually. This event has been organized by Hudson Gateway Association of Realtors and FIABC USA and Portuguese International Realty, so-called PIR. I would like first to welcome everyone that has been involved in this and all that have worked to make this happen. I'd like to thank Richard Aggerty for making it possible, Kathleen Stark, Emika Case, and Tony, both from the Hudson Gateway Global Business Council, and also from FIABC USA, Eugenia Foxworth, the president of FIABC USA, and all these three entities have made possible for us to join here today with more than 200 attendees. If not present, they will be sent the record of the sessions today. And also, I would like to thank all the speakers here today that have managed their agendas to be able to share great information about our country. And to start with, nothing like a short video about Portugal that will allow you to get the feeling about our country.
Only you can make all this world seem right.
Nur du kannst die Dunkelheit erstrahlen.
Solo tú puedes emocionarme, traerme ese color.
Remplir mon cœur d'amour que pour toi.
Only you puedes lograr ese cambio en mí.
C'est bien vrai, tu es ma destinée. Dá-me tua mão, tu és o meu único destino.
És o meu sonho real, o meu único tu.
Seulement toi
Can make all this change in me. Es que es verdad.
Du bist mein Bestimmung.
When you hold my hand, I understand the magic that you do. You're my dream come true, my one and only you.
Visit our sea, our sun, our heritage and our culture. Only you can continue to make us the best destination in the world. Visit Portugal.
So this is Portugal. Portugal is one of Europe's oldest countries. Apart from mainland Portugal, we have the Azores Island and Madeira Island. In fact, Azores has a great historical relationship with the US back to the Second World War and before, I suppose. We are a small country, and Lisbon, the capital, has around 500,000 population. Portugal per capita GDP is 29,000 euros, quite the half of the US. Portugal is considered an open and secure country not only in Europe, but in the world. Portugal has lived a great part of the 20th century in a dictatorship that has shaped the country and its people. For more than 45 years, Portugal is a modern democracy and has been seen a great improvement since becoming part of the European Union more than 30 years ago. From different backgrounds, people have managed to become national legends or reference, such as these ones that I'm showing you on this slide. From Nobel Prizes to Pritzker Award winners that actually are building a skyscraper in New York City. I'm talking about Cisa Vieira. Soccer and photo legends like Cristiano Ronaldo, Eusebio, Amalia, and Marisa, to modern artists that are important and internationally recognized, like Joana Vasconcelos, that has had a major display in Versailles Palace some years ago, and Paulo Rego, probably one of the most valuable Portuguese living artists today. So as NAR says, that's who we are. As one of Europe's oldest country, our heritage is vast and well preserved. Our people and our heritage makes Portugal one of the most complete countries in Europe. Not a leading tourist destination such as our neighbors that we're referring to previously, but certainly one precious hidden gem that is waiting for your visit. About some economic data. So I'm showing you some graphics about Portugal GDP, and you can see that since 2008 economic crash, we can see a recover, and 10 years after was one of the highest increase ratios in Europe. Today, Portugal economy is growing faster than the European average. You can see also that the inflation is controlled in 1%, so not an increase expected in prices. And most of all, in this next slide, you can see the unemployment ratio is one of Europe's lowest ones. In fact, it has increased slightly during this pandemic, but not as much as we could expect. And we can say that at this ratio of 7% is more or less like full employment, since there is probably some people that don't need to work and won't never work. So I can state without any doubt that Portugal economy is healthy and has a positive outlook for the upcoming years. This shows us how the most important industries are in Portugal, and we can see oil, vehicles. Oil is very important. Portugal is one of the most important players in Europe for these. Vehicles, we have big industries to assemble vehicles in Portugal, and we are also very well known for shoemakers and wine producers. So these are obviously Portugal major exports also, and with good quality. That's what is the difference between Portugal and other countries in Europe. They probably have more quantity, but we have more quality. So that's what it is. About Portugal international reality. We are an Hudson Gateway Association of Realtors partner, and our history goes back to June 2018, when our president signed an agreement with NAR president at the time, Elizabeth Mendenhall, in Portugal's second biggest city, Porto. Our association was founded by two different real estate players, UCI, a mortgage provider, and APMIP, one of the most important real estate associations in Portugal. Since then, we are doing our plan, and we are doing NAR courses such as Green designation that we all held last month for the first time here in Portugal, and for more than 4 years we are holding also the ABR designation and CIPS designation. At this present time, we have more than 80 members, international realtor members, that are willing to work with other realtors under the same standards of the code of ethics. That is important to state. To finish my introduction, I would like also to share some figures about the real estate players in this market. For you to get a figure about the dimension of the market that will be later detailed by Ricardo Guimarães, we have a market with about less than 7,000 brokerages, and we can reach up to 30,000 agents in the country. And this is considered like a very big figure because international brands, as this one show on the slide, really dominate the market with probably a share of 40%. Remax, Century 21, ERA, Coldwell Banker. Well, the first three are the most expressive in the most expressive in the market, since they are here for more than 20 years now. But we have seen the increase of the newcomers, such as obviously Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker, and all the luxury brands also that are here for more time now, Christie's and Sotheby's, and obviously local players as Comprar Casa and Zome and Seasons e Soluções. So I would like you now to hear what Dr. Ricardo Guimarães has to say about the Portuguese real estate market, and I will allow Ricardo to share his presentation with you because he has something very special to show you.
Thank you a lot, Pedro. It is a big pleasure to join this panel today. It is an honor to be part. But the doctor thing is very Portuguese. I prefer to be called Ricardo. I'm not a physician. So, I'll try to very shortly share with you some figures about the Portuguese market. I'm going to share my screen and just explaining very briefly what is confidencial mobiliário in a sentence. I believe my screen is being shared. Please confirm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Just in a word, confidencial mobiliário is not a broker. We are a broker, but a broker of data. We gather information from all main players in the market, and we serve the market with specific market intelligence and price indexes and so on. And this is what I'm going to talk about today. If you Google a bit about confidencial mobiliário in the news, you will find a lot of releases from our agency and showing us as a recognized source for all market with the main media using our data. So speaking about what really matters for today, I have prepared a pair of slides, a few more, and trying to share a bit the main characteristics about the Portuguese market. This is our longest house price index that we produce since 1988. House price index for Portugal. It shows a very steady market, even during those periods with high inflation rates in the past. Here we see more or less the trends before the financial crisis. Here we see the impact of that crisis in the Portuguese market. So there was a price decrease, obviously, because of all effects that we know. And then since 2014, more or less, prices recovered a lot. and there was an acceleration on price increase. This took place very close to the openness of our markets to international demand, and the way that the Portuguese market became less a local market but a global market, especially Lisbon and Porto, Algarve was already. So this is the big change before, after, and today. Market is the fact that Portugal is not anymore a market only to the Portuguese people. But even though there was this big increase in prices, I think it is important to share. We also compute a real price version of the index, meaning after discounting the inflation rate impact on nominal prices. This is only to give you the perspective that uh, only after the middle 2019 the Portuguese market was away from and broke historical maximums that it took 20 years ago. So more or less what this graphic says is that after 20 years, the Portuguese market was recovering the same price level it was 20 years before. This means that this is a very stable market going along with the inflation. Not It is very different from other international markets. For instance, the Spanish, Irish, UK, or England, and other markets, even US. Uh, the famous topic of the bubble. We have never faced a market bubble in Portugal. Every time prices went up, they did that for very specific and very rational reasons. So we have really a market that is driven, in my perspective, by a very resilience and very with very real foundations in terms of its evaluation. Um, in more in the short-term perspective and the impact from the COVID crisis, what we saw is that despite maybe everybody was expecting the market to go down in terms of prices, but in fact, what happened is that the market, even though in a more smooth trend, it kept very positive, and only in September last year there was a price decrease, and but month after month the market was very resilient, and this is a proof of how much the Portuguese market is seen as a valuable market, not only for the Portuguese buyers, but also for international buyers. Here we see a price increase in the more recent months. This is for May this year, more or less as a consequence of the unlock that took place in March this year. Obviously, unlocking the economy, the society opened the expectations, and this is having a direct impact in terms of prices. But what is the main message is that the Portuguese market was always very resilient. Prices didn't went down, and at this point, I believe no one is really expecting that type of impact from the pandemics in the Portuguese real estate market. At the same time that prices kept very stable, the number of transactions also behaved very positively. Only, this is a long-term series since 2007. Here we see also the impact of the previous crisis. Here we see the evolution in terms of quarterly number of transactions, and obviously going along with the market valorization. And here is the only quarter where when we see an impact from the pandemics, but this was the second quarter last year, so really no one was really ready to or prepared to face this new situation. But since then, there is been this very impressive recovery. Last year, the total year number of transactions was around 170,000 transactions in terms only of housing market. And this is a record facing the last years or so. This is showing that, on the contrary, regarding what some people could expect, not only prices kept very stable, and along with that, the market dynamics was very strong and recovering after only one quarter with a less positive performance. It is also interesting to see that in terms of new investment prospects and new projects to obtain the permit to being construct the building permit, what we see is an increase in the past years, stabilization during the last year, and these first months of this year also keeping a very good performance in terms of investment prospects. So this means, and we see in the field, that today is difficult to find an architect that is available, to find a contractor that is available, to find industry providers that can answer to our project. Things are, instead of decreasing, things are accelerating in terms of new investment prospects. And obviously there are some changes in terms of locations and profiles, but in general terms, a very strong response to the crisis. As I said, and here I'm speaking specifically about Lisbon. Lisbon as urban refurbishment areas that allows us to have more detailed information in partnership with the municipality. And what we see here is the share of international buyers regarding the last years. And what we see is that in 2020, there was an increase on the international buyers share. And this is very impressive because our intuition would be maybe that not only prices went down, the number of transactions would decrease, and also internationals would keep out of the market. Not at all. There was a small decrease in absolute terms, but an increase in terms of market share. And this is very impressive because we remember the Portuguese market not being very attractive for internationals. But since the moment it started and to be known, it is amazing the way people kept with us and very open to invest and interested to invest. Here also still focusing in Lisbon, we see that we have a couple of main nationalities that explain more or less 50 to 60% of international transactions. China is very important, France, but USA is coming in the third place. It is very new, this volume, this impact of international buyers in Lisbon. I think that we would not expect that if we would see information from the last years, but this share is increasing and increasing. It is very impressive the way international buyers from USA are arriving to Lisbon. But let me say that international buyers in Lisbon, they come from more than 80 nationalities. So here we have the biggest sources, but Lisbon is really a globalized market with more than 80 nationalities buying, sometimes with more share from Italians, from people from Turkey, from people from China, from people from several international sources. So this also means that it is a market with a lot of liquidity and being able to attract people from all around the world. Let me just share with you some figures about transaction prices. in Lisbon region. Well, I could show other locations, but just to be very briefly sharing you this specifically. Here I'm talking about June's data, aggregating the last 12 months of transactions. And what we see here is Lisbon. I don't know if you can see here below, with the average of, it will appear here, uh, 5.2 thousand euros per square meter. So and in the surroundings, in places like Sintra, you see asking prices about 2,000 euros and the transactions 1.5 thousand euros. But Lisbon obviously is leading, also with Cascais is the second more expensive location in this region, with the transaction prices on average 2.9 thousand euros per square meter, asking prices from 4.4, new houses around 6, and second hand around 4. But this is the average market. Obviously, I could change this map to the high-end market. We see obviously different prices. When we see the high end, we see Lisbon in around 8. I hope that you can see here when I put the mouse in the location. Please, Pedro, confirm if it is being able to be seen. Pedro.
Yes, we can see it, Ricardo.
Okay, because it is on my footer and I'm not sure. Okay, thank you. So this is the high-end market, so obviously with higher prices. Obviously, as you know, we are professionals or people related to the market. Location also defines a bit how prices can differ. Here we have a zoom in Lisbon. Specifically, we can see the more expensive neighborhoods like Avenida da Liberdade. For instance, if I change here to the high end, we see results on 12,000 euros per square meter. Obviously, this is very different from even on very near neighborhoods. Another very classical neighborhood and very keen for investment, Chiado. We can see also prices in this location. I was already, those prices was for new buildings. Let me change here. Chiado at around 6.7 thousand euros. So the main message is that we can offer a very different profile of values, obviously depending on the locations that we are choosing. But obviously, as you can expect, Portugal is very competitive in terms of prices, and relating with Pedro's presentation, that was more in terms of the qualitative aspects of the Portuguese market, the standards of living, the way people can benefit from all the amenities Portugal can offer. Those cross a lot with a very cheap market. Even though I'm showing high end, you can also see average prices, obviously much below comparing to what you are used maybe in USA. Just to finish, giving a perspective that despite obviously all this change in the Portuguese market and led by Lisbon had an impact on prices. Obviously, I don't think that nowadays we should see Portugal and Lisbon just as a cheap market. I think that we should look to Portugal and Lisbon, Porto, Algarve as value for money markets. So not just because it is cheap, but because they offer good qualities of living, everything, all those amenities for a fair price. But if we compare, I'm sorry, the source here is not correct. It was from Financial Times. The Lisbon with Madrid, Berlin, Paris, and London, we can see that even despite the value for money it delivers, it is also still a competitive market in terms of prices.
Thank you, Ricardo, for showing us this data.
I try to be very short. I'm obviously I could speak a bit more, but maybe it was not the aim for today. Just a very brief and high level sharing of data.
Okay, so now it will be time to give you some insight about international buyers in Portugal, and we have invited Antonio Barbosa, international realtor member in Portugal, to talk you about it. Okay, Antonio?
Hello, everyone. And it is an absolute pleasure and privilege to be among you. Sorry about that, phone ringing. Um, and here to share our beautiful country with you guys. And so, thank you so much for being here and attending. And just a little bit about myself. My name is Antonio Barbosa, just like Dr. Pedro said, and I am an IRM or International Realty member. I'm also a proud member of FIAPSI USA with the Mountain Council States, CRS, ABR, and most importantly, CIPS, the Certified International Property Specialist. And when we talk about international buyers, and by the way, Dr. Ricardo, and I recommend anybody listening for comps and data for your ACMs, for our RCMs. That's where we get our data. And so thank you for putting out this, always the publications, in addition to the Instituto Nacional de Estatísticas and yourself. That's how we get our data. We don't have an MLS here, unfortunately, so we have to get our data, gather it other through the properties that we sell, we list, and anywhere we can get our information accurately to our buyers and sellers. And so with that said, international buyers, and I think so eloquently, Dr. Guimarães already mentioned, and I won't get too much into that data, but where the international buyers are coming from, I'll tell you where they're buying, and they're along the coastline. Basically, they love our coasts, they love the oceans, and so primarily in the Porto area right now, and you can see by the graph, that is where probably the most in the north of Portugal, that's where they're looking to buy for reasons, and above Lisbon as well, maybe the Silver Coast, because of affordability and what you get value for your money. And then Lisbon area, obviously the capital, and Algarve with all the beautiful beaches and the Mediterranean weather. Who would not want to live there and enjoy their golden years, as I say? And you know, a lot of famous celebrities, whether it's Madonna or Michael Fassbender, or even Monica Bellucci and Christian Lobatin, you know, the red shoe guy. Well, they actually have two homes near one another in the center of Lisbon. And in addition, Christian Lobatin just recently invested about a year ago, or maybe a year and a half ago, in Melides, where he has a holiday home. And Melides is a beautiful area just south of Lisbon on the beautiful Alentejo coast. And really where Troia before the Vincentine coast starts. So it's a beautiful area, very attractive. And he actually has a holiday home there, in addition to where he spent over, and this is documented, it was €500,000 for a piece of land to build one of his first hotels. And he's very excited. He wants to get into that. And I think so. The red shoe guy is definitely one of the big supporters and loves Portugal. And you know, I think Portugal, Europe's best kept secret, for sure it is. And I'll tell you a little bit about myself in the story, because I didn't grow up here in Portugal. I've been living here 20 years. My background is in the United States. And after living, growing, knowing, passionate about the people, the real estate came afterwards, but the people, the culture. And I think Dr. Pedro probably forgot to put some pictures of the food and the wine and everything, because the real estate is great, and it's beautiful properties, whether it's your old manor homes or just the architecture. We have, like was mentioned before, Prickster architects that designed some beautiful homes here in Portugal. whether they're modern or they're rustic, but there's a lot of heritage and culture. And one of the best kept secrets is really, it's all about retiring here. And I think Americans, and there was a graph that just recently, Dr. Guimarães just mentioned. I won't get too much into that data because it's clearly on there. But where the Americans are discovering Portugal for some reason, and I've noticed also myself in the last 6 months to a year or so, maybe during the pandemic, people started to look for a place to have a second passport and looking at opportunities. And one of the most important things, and through the Global Peace Index, as the third safest country to live. Third safest country out of 163 countries that are surveyed, Portugal is number three. Through the um, um, magazine of international living, and about expats, it's voted number five. There's a lot of beautiful countries in the world, but Portugal is number five. It was actually it's been at number one, but it's still up there always. And that's because when you retire here and you're living permanently, it's all about cost of living and the quality of life. And that's what it's for me. For 20 years of living here, it's all about that experience. There is a lifestyle, and it's affordable, and there's lifestyles for every single wallet. Of course, our buyers, whether they're buying a small piece of land from 15,000 euros, or they're buying a 2 or 3 million euro mansion. So there is, every lifestyle has a different budget and a quality of life to go with it. Whether you want to eat out at a local restaurant for €6 a day, which includes like a soup, a starter. You have you can choose from a meat or fish dish, a small beverage, or a little bottle of wine, a coffee at the end with the cheirinho of aguardiente. You got to ask for that. Or even, and then a dessert. We're talking €6 here in my region in the north. If you go down to Porto or Lisbon, it's going to be maybe around to €9. There was a recent article just published recently about where in Porto you could eat for €7 on a nice meal, and €2 for a drink. So that's €9, and it was a nice article done by I can't remember the name, but the council. But it's just to let you know that the quality of life, and if you want to have the beautiful dinner at Augusto restaurant at the Conrad Hotel, we have it. We have the more, what you say, the just 5-star restaurants. You have the Tascas, the Tasquinhas. You have, every single region has its own identity, its own culture, and discovering it for me has been a privilege here living. And that's why this is where my home is. This is where my heart is. And I love to visit the world, but I would never call anywhere else home other than here. And you could see by a lot of the international buyers, whether they're buying for a vacation home or they want to live here permanently. And that's, whether, and then again, Dr. Bruno, as well as Dr. Anna and Dr. Sara, they're going to explain to you about the benefits of like where the golden visas and the non-habitual resident status and the benefits of living here. And a lot of, they're buying, whether vacations home or living here permanently, maybe as even an investment property, to rent it, to sell it. You want a nice ROI, you do have it here. I would say that a lot of my investors, one of the biggest decisions they've made of moving to Portugal was probably because initially it is about return of investment, and that's at an investor side of it. So they don't look at the heart or the beautiful, what it is. But once they discover the culture and the food, the wine, the people, everything around it, the nice sunny days, then they say, you know what, it's the best investment I ever made. And that's where they recommend friends. And so all these graphs, datas that are here, basically what this in a nutshell probably explains is that since 2012, since the initiation of the Golden Visa program, and you could see the numbers here where it's rising steadily. And I think it's important that we keep continuing these kind of programs to incentivize, to motivate foreign investors, foreign buyers moving in. And there's a lot of also tax benefits, and Doutora Ana or Doutora Sara will explain that to you as well, through also Dr. Bruno with the golden visas, and or even the D7 visa, because you don't have to be a millionaire to live in Portugal. You can rent, you can buy, and so there is. And one of the other graphs, which is important to note, and I'll just single out, the biggest probably investors in Europe, or in the world rather, are the French. Okay, that's in terms of numbers. In terms of number of volume, I would probably say the Asian market definitely contributes to that. They're number 5 here, and you could see the United States. I think it's at like number 7. I think it is, and so, but that's going to grow. That's going to change. I think the United States market, because of all the opportunities and, like I said, the quality of life, the living the golden years, and that's what it's all about. The quality of life. International buyers, just like I said, I'm in the northern market, so Spanish for me is a very great market. We do have a small office there as well, so we kind of, I don't know, the Portuguese buy in Spain, the Spanish buy here in Portugal, and they love it. We're actually closing on a property now. We're trying to. Dr. Pedro is actually working with us with an international buyer from Spain. So and the reality is that we do work with a lot of Spanish market, Italian, Swiss, and even other growing markets. Brazil's always been a great market for us, and that's because of the language. So that's always been. But in the last couple of years, precisely because what I just mentioned, third safest country to live. So Brazil, Turkey, even Indian, South African, Russian. And so there's a lot of few expats communities also set up in the areas of like Cascais, Algarve, because of the schools, the international schools. Portugal does have, if you want to list, I mean, we can come up with them, but there's some really great international schools. So it's just not holiday makers. They want to buy a holiday home or investment. We do have families. The majority of my clients are families that they want to live here in Portugal. They want to bring up their children here, offer that great quality of life. The reasons for it, again, Golden Visa, Dr. Bruno will explain in just a second about the opportunities and what you can get. But I would just say to you that, you cannot buy happiness, but you can buy a ticket to Portugal. And that's pretty much the same thing. And so thank you once again, everyone, for letting myself and all my esteemed colleagues and panelists present our beautiful Portugal to you. And love, if you have any questions about Portugal, maybe where to go to dinner or eat or reservation, travel, please do connect, because either myself or any one of us will be more than happy to recommend everywhere. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Antonio. Antonio is a great active member of Portuguese International Realty, and it's great to have him on board. Thank you, Antonio, for your view about Portugal and international buyers. We are off term of our trade mission today. I would like to explain what you should expect from now on. We'll have an intervention about tax expert, legal issues about the buying process, and we finish with a showcase of some properties, different kind of properties in Portugal, and we are open to Q&A by the end of this virtual trade mission to Portugal. So now to play golf, or better said, to explain you about tax expert issues, we have Dr. Bruno Diaz from Berna Attorney with here today. So Dr. Bruno is here now.
Yes, hello.
Hello, welcome.
Hello, good afternoon. Good morning to you in the US. Good afternoon to us in Portugal. Thank you very much for the invitation. Okay, so forget about the doctor, as someone said before. I'm Bruno, I'm a lawyer in Portugal doing this, all of these process applications, especially in Golden Visa, for people who would like to invest in Portugal without residing in Portugal. So we have this special program, which is called very nicely the Golden Visa program. And Golden Visa because it's really a golden opportunity for someone with an investment to have a residence title in Portugal. The major difference for this residence title for the other residence titles is that the people don't need to live in Portugal. People can have this. Can you go up again, please?
Yeah, it's moving automatically.
Very fast. Yeah.
Sorry.
No problem. So with this program, with the buying of a property, someone can, which is called the investor, can apply for this Golden Visa and get a resident card for him as an investor and apply for the family, spouse, kids, and in some cases for parents both the spouse and the investor, and without having to live in Portugal. So only spending 7 days a year in Portugal, and it goes back again. 7 days a year in, no problem, no problem. 7 days a year in Portugal, which is normally it's a problem because everybody says the problem is not to stay 7 days. It's only stay 7 days because it's time flies. And like Antonio Barbosa was saying, it's not possible for someone not to like to be in Portugal, and of course not to like to live in Portugal. I used to say to all of my clients and friends, international friends, that I'm absolutely passionate about Portugal. I love to travel. I love to be all over the world, but Portugal has something special, and I can see that Antonio just exceeds my passion about Portugal, which is absolutely comprehensive. So with the golden visa, the investment, and with the card, the residence cards, all the family can live and work in Portugal if they want. If they don't want, they don't need to live in Portugal. They can only come the 7 days a year. They can, in the end, have a permanent residence permit or apply for nationality of Portuguese nationality after 5 years of the beginning of the residency permit. During this period, it can freely circulate from all over the Schengen area in Europe. So mostly all the countries in Europe without any requirements. And as I said, these benefits are extended to the family of the investor. We can go now. So to obtain the golden visa, there are a few ways to do it. To buy a real estate property, to do a company, to build up a company, to set up a company and create 10 workstations, 10 jobs, to transfer capital. Nowadays, it's 1 million. So to park 1 million euros in the bank, or other types of investment, like investing in cultural and scientific and investigation and technology, artistic production, etc., etc. I have to tell you that these other forms of investment, personally, I consider this is like a donation because you don't expect to have any return. To transfer capital, the money to the bank, you have to park the money for 5 years at least in the bank. So it's 1 million parked in the bank. So again, to set up a company and create the jobs, it's almost the same in terms of the costs as to buy a property. And buying a property, everybody knows what is the advantages. You have an asset that it's there, and that you can just have some income during the period, because you can rent the property. It doesn't matter if it's a property, a commercial property, a residential property, an office, and you can have a profit. You can have an income during the period of the 5 years while you have the golden visa. And of course, you can use that money to come the 7 days and even more every year to Portugal. Please move. So the family regrouping, the investor can apply for the family to regroup with them. Of course, the spouse, of course, the kids, minors. If they are of age, they can apply if they are studying. And of course, also the parents of the investor or the spouse. We can go. What about the schedule? So once the investment is done, we apply for the golden visa. And once the golden visa is granted, normally the first period is 1 year. For the last 2 years, the Immigration Service granted 2 years because the law was changed for 20 and 2021. We don't know if in 2022 it will be like that, but it doesn't matter because the frame is the 5 years to fulfill the old program and then to apply for permanent residency or even for nationality, where the main requirement is the language skills, the language test that has to be provided to apply for these two types of residency. So the general costs to buy a property based on the 500,000 investment. You have the property transfer tax. This is again, so going up and going down. This is again for a buying of a property of 500,000 euros, a residential property. And you have the stamp duty. So all of these taxes are for the government. We have the document certification and legalization, including the deed and everything, and the registration of the property in the name of the buyer. Sorry, oh, it was me. So some information about the golden visa types that were done until now. So as you can see, the properties are the majority of the investment to apply for the golden visa for the reason I mentioned, because it's actually the asset that you can count on, that it's reliable and that you can even have some income that you can use without having to live here. Again, some information about the nationalities of an investors. You can see China and Brazil, and then USA also there, South Africa, India, and then the other countries. Why the Portuguese golden visa? You can see that because Portugal, as Antonio Barbosa explained very well, is very attractive, very pleasant, and it's very safe, very, very safe. So it's one of the issues, the keys that people feel when they arrive here in Portugal. It doesn't matter if they are Chinese, Brazilian, or even Americans, not mentioning, of course, the foods, as Antonio explained, and the wine, and so on and so on. Combining with this program and the residency, if someone really lives in Portugal, can combine this with this program, which is a non-habitual resident, which for some kind of people, high standard professionals, managing directors, and retired people can benefit from either exemption of taxes or even a flat tax of income that they can get in Portugal from work, which is a flat tax of 20%, which is considered to the taxes that we have in Portugal for us, which is not fair for us that we live here, but we have high taxes on our income, our professional, our work income. But for foreigners, during 10 years, they can benefit on this flat tax of 20%. Let's go, Pedro.
Okay.
Okay, as I mentioned, a flat tax of 20%. It has to be, of course, considered case by case. And there's this net pension for income of 10% for pensions, for retirement pensions, which were enforced because there were many countries, even in Europe, complaining about the retired people not paying taxes anywhere, not even in the country of origin, and not in the country, not in Portugal. So there is this flat tax to just to say people that they have to pay something not very much. So this was, as I was asked to do, a very brief presentation. Sarah, I guess, will explain something about the legal procedures, which are not very complicated, but I will let that to Sarah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Bruno, for your presentation. As I said previously, we'll also like to address about the buying process. It's a little bit different from the US, but Sara Quadros, from the legal advisor from APMIP, has some information for you about this. And if you have any doubt, by the hand, we also have Antonio Barbosa with us that could also state the differences and clarify any doubt that we may have about this, okay? So now it's Sarah.
Yes, hello.
Okay.
So
Hello.
I didn't introduce myself. My name is Sara Quadros, and I'm the lead.
Sorry, we are having some feedback.
And now
Okay.
it's okay?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So I didn't introduce myself. My name is Sara Quadros.
Yeah, we're still
please,
having.
sorry.
Sorry about that.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, now it's okay. Okay. So for the third time, my name is Sara Quadros, and I'm the legal advisor of APMIP. It is an honor to be representing our association in this event. So I will explain the process of buying houses in Portugal. First of all, the process starts mostly with online research, or in some cases, buyers visit real estate agencies directly. Secondly, the buyer and the real estate mediator sign a real estate mediation contract. We have some examples. If you want, I can send to you. Just ask me in the Q&A. Then after this contract, the buyer chooses all the houses details, and then the real estate agent search for houses that correspond to the buyer's demands. After that search, the normal process is to do some property visits, and then the buyer decides which one is the perfect house to buy or rent. The buyers make an offer for the house, and after that, the seller can make a decision to sell the house for the price offered. It is common practice that the parties sign a residential contract for sale and purchase. Then the buyer contract will be signed in person. You can also apply for mortgage, and that process can be done online or in person. When you apply for the mortgage process, it is expected to be concluded in 35 days, and without mortgage, 7 days. Last but not least, the buying contract, last but not least, the last step of the transaction is deed signing. So in the next slide, okay. Yeah, so in the next slide, it is possible to see the buying costs. So as you can see, in terms of taxes, it is possible to see that 5 to 6% correspond to property transfer tax. The stamp duty corresponds to 0.80% of the purchase price, and 0.60% corresponds to the loan amount. It is possible to see that the deed and land registry to notary fees have a cost around 325 euros. The registrations have a cost around 465 euros. The solicitor fees have a cost around 390 euros. The valuations have a cost around 221 euros. In terms of costs, as you can see in the example, the purchase price is 400,000 euros instead of the loan amount, which is 260,000 euros. To conclude my presentation, you can see that the property transfer tax represents more than 70% of the purchase and mortgage costs. Thank you all for your attention.
Thank you, Sarah. So as you can see, we say here that these are the mortgage costs, but you can forget this because these are the costs regarding the transaction. If there is a mortgage cost, you will have only these small costs when you are considering a total of 21,000 euros. And that is more or less 10% or 11% of the amount of the buying. So we are okay on time. I don't know if we can pause here before the property showcase at the end. And we can have some explanations from Antonio also at this point, or shall we continue and leave it to the end? Honestly,
you're doing fine on time. So
okay. So do any attendees have any doubt that want to clarify at this stage? Please let us know. And
I do have 2 questions.
okay, can you share with us, please, Gary?
Certainly. Is there still a restriction on golden visas for coastal areas?
Antonio, do you want to clarify or shall I do it?
That's fine, Pedro. I think probably the more accurate would be Dr. Bruno Diaz. And but but basically until the end of the year, when Portugal decided, and this was all pretty much has to do with the or cement, the budget, for the year. And so it was the golden visa program was actually supposed to be terminated in at the beginning of 2020, and we all know what happened, right, with all the going on with COVID, and also it was extended. It was supposed to end actually in July of this year, 2021. And then a news came out, it's going to end in December of this year. Personally, I don't think that it could ever happen. I think it'll be a big mistake for the government to do it, because it would eliminate, and you could saw by the graphs as of 2012 and what the golden visa did to promote our business here in Portugal. So I'm sure the lobbyists of real estate and the world, and it's all political, but that's just a different story. But at the moment, yes, the way the laws is set up until the end of December of this year, 2021, the coastal areas will not be able, or more so the metropolitan areas and the coastal areas. That's pretty, like the Algarve, Lisbon, Porto. That's what they eliminate. On the other hand, what they want to promote is the interior, and so that's why even where an investment of like 280,000 euros, you buying a property that's over 30 years old in a non-density urban area, basically the countryside. So you'll be my neighbor. I'm a country boy, so that's the kind of properties here. So anything over 30 years old, you can invest of 280,000 euros, whether you're buying an older home and doing the full renovation costs. As long as it totals that price, then you can live or apply for the golden visa. And so in that areas, they will never end. The golden visa will never end, only in the coastal areas and the metropolitan areas. But again, I think when in October, when we have the new budget to be set up, whether they're going to come to an agreement, because you cannot stop the promotion of real estate investment here in Portugal. That's something that just the last, and it's the facts are there and the numbers are there. So they're never going to ignore the fact that if they do that. And also you got to remember the golden visa. Here's something that probably wasn't mentioned. The golden visa program actually, it inspired. Look at how Lisbon was 10 years ago. Okay. And look at it is now. Look at Porto. Look at those abandoned buildings. You see requalified. Okay. Where do you think that investment came from? All foreign for the most part, right? And so we're talking about the Asians, Indians, CG groups. You have so many companies for Israel. They're investing heavily here and requalifying the older cities. And there's still a lot to get done. And how much did that contribute to the economy, the local economy? So that could never be overlooked. So that's just my opinion and my facts. I think that I'm based on that. It would never probably end, but definitely not in the interiors. Hope I answered that question correctly.
Sure. Bruno, do you want to add anything to this point?
No, again, Antonio explained everything very clearly. So
okay,
no
thank
more.
you. Gary, I've seen one question that I've replied to, but I would like to address it, please, is regarding buying a property in Porto or any area in Portugal. Antonio Barbosa is suitable, of course, to handle any business on Porto or any other place around the country, but I will encourage all international realtor members here to share their contacts, or otherwise I will encourage all interested in getting to know international realtor members in Portugal details. You can visit www.per.pt, and there you have a directory of all existing international realtor members in Portugal, and I'm pretty sure all obey to the same code of ethics as you obey in the US, NAR code of ethics, and any one of them is more than the right guide to help you in this process.
Dr. Pedro, I would just like to add that we have some great quality top professionals. Always look for the R, that is for sure. And hopefully, and I think you're working towards it, and to more get, it's not even, I think, ethics and professionalism and what we know our business, we got to do it. But being part of a special group, which is NAR, is definitely something to consider when any realtor, any client looks to buy in a foreign country. Look for the R. It's cliche, it's a slogan, but it really is. It's to value our ethics, but we do have, and I would mention, even without being part of NAR, we do have great professionals here in Portugal that more than qualified, more than speak English, that can help you or your clients move to Portugal. And so I just want to rephrase that. But first of all, look for the R. Definitely, that's the first place I would go.
So you can search us on NAR website, but I'm pretty sure that they don't have the updated directory. So you can search into www.per.pt and you will have a search directory there. If Green has a question about applying to a mortgage, in fact, you don't have to be resident in Portugal to apply to a mortgage here. Several banks do offer a mortgage to non-resident, and we are pretty used to do that. As you can see before, more than 15% of the transactions are done with non-residents, and you can see that most there are European citizens, but also non-European citizens, and you have that. It is possible. Another question that we have here is, do you qualify for a golden visa if you take a mortgage on the property? Bruno Diaz.
Well, I can clarify that.
Thank you.
Well, you can get a loan to buy the property on top of the minimum amount of the investment required by the law. So again, taking in consideration one investment of 500,000 euros, so you can buy, let's say, a property of 1 million, and you can get a loan of 500,000. But the first 500,000, or if it's in the interior areas of the country, the 350 or the 280, have to be paid in cash. You cannot pay it through a bank loan, get it in Portugal. Of course, if you get it outside and transfer the money to Portugal to your bank account, that will be not a problem because it will come from you as cash. But in Portugal, you cannot get the loan, only on top of the minimum amount of investment required.
Thank you.
Dr. Pedro, I would just add that, I'm sorry, I hate to butt in, but I would just add, because it's important information. I think you should talk about the LTV, the loan to value ratio, where here there is a 60%, and some banks can go up to 70%. I've had situations where they can go up to 80, but those are very specified. So maybe you want to just elaborate a little, just so our friends know.
Okay. Do you want me to detail it?
Yeah, you're better, more
okay.
than I am. I might but I think
yeah,
people are getting tired of hearing me.
That's very common here in Portugal. In Portugal, you cannot apply to a mortgage, 100% mortgage. You have to at least have 10% savings to enter the operation. So banks only, for residents, they only finance up to 90%. It's mandatory to all, is a common rule here in Portugal. And for foreign buyers, they have to reduce it a little more due to the risk of the operation. So most banks go to up to 60%, and well, we are used to that. So you can also handle the mortgage with your real estate agent, or better, we have a credit intermediary now here in Portugal that work with real estate agents, so they both can handle this situation and clarify it for you. And we are also here for anything you may want to have more information. Yeah, Ilya Kovachev is placing a question for European citizen. We can go up to 60% and in some cases to 70%, but we have to see the details of the operation, okay? Maria Carsu, yes, that's correct. We have to, for instance, US citizen, if he wants to buy in Portugal, he has to have 40% saving to go and apply for a mortgage. I would also, Maria, first of all, it's great to have you here. We know Maria for a long time now. She's Portuguese and she is a Hudson Gateway Association of Realtor members and a close friend to us. I think I can say that. She also has a question here about how COVID has affected the market prices in Lisbon. I think Ricardo Guimarães could answer this one, please.
Happy to do so. Lisbon was leading the market valuation trend, and Lisbon was already in a smooth process before the pandemics. The surroundings started to also attract investment and demand. What happened in the last quarter, in the last year, is that Lisbon was very steady, and it was the secondary cities leading price increase. There is Lisbon suffered a bit in terms of changing in the structure of demand, and this had this type of impact in terms of prices got very stable, neither increasing, neither increasing. And it was, and the new leaders of the market are secondary cities in the surroundings in Lisbon. The same pattern took place in Porto. Porto was leading, and now secondary cities in the Porto metropolitan area are leading this new cycle. I think this is connected with the new profile of demand, less focus in the city centers, but also because there was a big volume of new projects in those secondary cities. If you allow me, just also allow me to make a comment. I don't know if it is in the scope of this seminar, but I also think it is interesting to consider investing to let. And Portuguese market is also offering very interesting yields, very easily 6% yields even nowadays. So I think it also can be considering the possibility of investing under the Golden Visa program, but maybe I'm not. Maybe other panelists can be more specific on that. But putting the house into this market, adopting a yield from it.
Okay. We have also one question about the detail about inland areas here in Portugal. I think Ricardo has add something to this. First, the focus was on Lisbon and Algarve area, and it has moved to Porto, and now is going to zoom out from major urban areas to the surroundings of those areas and secondary cities, and as Ricardo said, like Braga in the north, Aveiro, Leiria, and well, in the Sines area, that is a very well industrial and service area that is close to the sea, and that's a huge, one of the Portuguese and European major ports, maritime ports, and all those now offer good opportunities to invest, either to buy or to let later. I would like, I think I've finished this one. I would like now to give the pitch to Luís Filipe Janeira, that is the first ever Portuguese real estate agent on NAR board of directors, and is here to showcase some 4 different properties. Isn't that so, Luís?
Yes, it's true. Good morning to everybody. It's true. I'm the NAR board director for the Western Europe. It's always an honor to represent here Portugal, and I want to make just a little bit some little words about everything that's been said. One little thing is that Lisbon, Cascais, Algarve, and Porto are the hot spots. They are still the hot spots, and the type of investments in Portugal for foreign people. Normally, it's about 500 euros, 590 $1,000. Sorry, it's a typical or more $165 for square feet. We have opportunities above that kind of values. It's typical in Portugal. You can have for luxury and for foreign people properties above 1,000, 50,000 euros. 2,000 euros. We have tremendous opportunities in Portugal. The second, we have much more in Portugal than the real estate of the residential real estate. I think we have a situation similar to the United States. We have the residential, the commercial, and the industrial with the same attitude. We have a few opportunities. Still few opportunities in the residential. We have now new opportunities in the commercial area, in the corporate area, but in the industrial area, we still have a tremendous
demand.
We have a tremendous demand in the industrial area. But normally we only talk about the big cities like Lisbon, like Porto, the big cities. The big cities, the downtown, normally have yields about 5%. But for people that want to invest in Portugal, in the surround areas, in the suburban areas, we can reach to 7 to 8 to 9% of yields. We can provide 9% of yields. It's tremendous. Portugal nowadays still is a land of opportunities in the real estate, and I can go a little bit above that. In addition, Portugal is today one of the main global options for the post-COVID era. I think it's an outstanding country with educated workforce, with software skills people, with infrastructures and logistics solutions. I think Portugal will be in the next years one of the growing economies in the entire Europe. I think the location is tremendous, and I was very I can say it. I think it was very important to tell this because it's much more than residential real estate. Portugal has too much to give. Besides
Okay.
that,
Luís, do you want to showcase the first one?
okay, it's about Lisbon in the capital. You can put people, please.
I think it's better for you to introduce, and later we can see the video. Is that okay?
I think it's better. I will talk in the video. It's a beautiful video. It's in Lisbon. It's the main city in Portugal. It's the capital. I can tell you that in Portugal, construction, bricks, concrete, iron, steel, not common to build. Well, this is Lisbon. In the last years, the reconstruction of Lisbon was tremendous. Nowadays, we have this kind of real normal to see water in our real estate. The Portuguese people have a connection, a tremendous connection with the ocean. It's the way of we live. It's normally that is happening. The swimming pool, the ocean, the view. It's very typical.
And you have another one that you want to show?
The next one is in Algarve. Algarve, it's the south part of Portugal. Is the holiday region for excellence. It's where the Portuguese and the British come to make holidays. One of the most beautiful beaches in entire Europe. It's always extraordinary. Normally, our real estate, residential real estate, more for holidays than for living. But there are people that living in Algarve.
Okay, and the difference, the specific about this one is that is a residence in a W hotel. So your clients can buy the residence, the property itself, but it can benefit from all the service from the W hotel. So we can now see it. Oh, sorry, is this one?
Well, in this one, the key words are the golf, the horseback riding, the beaches, the sun, and the safety. It's typical. People demand this in Portugal, and this is our what we can deliver to the world. I think safety in Portugal is one of the most precious things that we give. The next video is a different one. It's about the fusion of water and nature. It's near Porto. It's in the Douro region, one of the most famous regions of the wines of the Portuguese wine. And if Pedro, you can go on.
And
this
the last one.
this
Oh,
one,
okay.
this one I think is a listing from Antonio. I think it's a video from Antonio, correct? Antonio, yes. Well, the next one is in Cascais. It's a city near Lisbon, where the Ian Fleming has inspired to make the James Bond Hotel Palacio near the Estoril Casino. It's one of the most famous regions in Portugal. It's the key word for Cascais is normally it's sailing. It's our sailing capital. Well, for this video, I would like to thank Gonçalo Ferraz from Coldon Banker for the credits. But just for final words, Portugal is this and much more. The wine, the food, our precious thing. I think it's the people. Portuguese people are so welcoming, tremendous culture. But as Antonio said, I think the best in all this is we must all have confidence in the art. There are realtors in Portugal, and I think it's the best bridge to make business in Portugal, because we understand how business are made in USA and in Portugal. There are tremendous difference. For example, we don't have the house inspections they have as you have in USA, but we have in Portugal. The real estate is classified by energy efficiency as commodities from level A to level F. It's different, but it's very important. Always work with a realtor. He can understand how you work and how can you work in Portugal. That I think it's the most important message in all of this. And Portugal has too much more to work.
Thank you, Luis, for sharing us these properties and your insights. We have almost reached the end. Please, I must apologize for the delay, but never forget we are Latin Europeans, so we are not so strict as Northern Europeans with the time. So sorry for this expected 10 minutes delay, but I think we'll try also to answer all your doubts. But now I will invite Dr. Ana Velar, APAMIP Secretary General, for the closing remarks, please.
So hello everyone, good morning to you all and good afternoon to Portugal. The problem to speak at the end, it's that already is said. So I don't have much to say about Portugal because we have wonderful speakers. Antonio Barbosa is the flag of Portugal. And my colleagues, Dr. Bruno Dias and Dr. Sara Quadros, explain the law. So amazing videos from Luís Felipe Janeiro, amazing videos, and Ricardo Guimarães with the data. So I would like to thank you all for attending this Global Chat trade mission. It was a great pleasure to be here. And also I would like to say that it's an honor to be invited to our official sponsor UCI to do the closing of this event, to HDR, PIR, FIAPSI. So thank you very much for attending you all. And I hope to see you in another event on the future, online or not. And so we reach the final of this event, the end. Thank you all for attending. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think we still have time, but I think this is it. I've seen some familiar faces in the audience. I want to salute Iris de Cunha for being here also, and please forgive me if I do not salute you. Probably I'm too focused on this, but I've seen Iris is here, is a close friend. I hope we have made you discover Portugal as a destination for your buying customers. Either they want to live or buy to invest in a stable and safe country within the European area. We are now reaching the end, but we'll try to clarify any doubts. In case we don't do that in time, Hudson Gateway Association has our contacts. We can also write them on the Q&A. And if you want to reach us later on with any doubt about anything here, we can do that for you. I would like also to reinforce once again that international realtor members in Portugal work under the same code of ethics as you and are a gateway to a secure and honest partnership with any realtor, either from Hudson Gateway Association of Realtors or FIABC USA. Please feel free to contact them or ourselves. I would like once again to thank you all for making this event possible. And Kathleen, Emil, Tony, Antonio, Eugenia, and Gary, thank you for being able to do this. It was a great honor for us. And honestly, we hope to see you later this year in San Diego as we are preparing to travel with the Portuguese delegation to NAR conference later this year, as we have done 2 years ago, and COVID made us to break apart from this great event, but we hope to reconnect again, as we do think that NAR conference is the best way to connect and learn from each other and other important players in the market. So thank you for being here.
Dr. Pedro, just one brief comment before we go, and I think it's important just to remember. Also in the golden visa, and probably Dr. Bruno can talk about it if you like, but now the Portugal government, in addition to, you don't have to buy a property, you can invest in property funds, and they start at 350,000 euros, also with access to the golden visa program, okay? And that is something that is actually, we were actually promoting. It's not to compete with the golden visa, but it's an offer in addition to golden visa. And so you can start, if you don't want to buy a property, you just want to invest in Portugal. And like Dr. Ricardo Guimarães so eloquently said, that the return of investments, and when you buy to let, or sort of like Airbnb, or even refurbishing properties in the more interior zones, those you'll probably get a higher return of investment. I think the biggest regions, and Luis Felipe Janeiro, my good friend, he said, those are the main areas of Algarve, Lisboa, Porto. But Portugal is so big, there's so many opportunities that you really got to go outside of those areas. And just like Ricardo Guimarães from Confidencial Imobiliário, a lot of the prices, and especially with COVID, the people moving out of Lisbon, and this is whether in the US or anywhere in the world, they're going to the interior. So we saw prices like areas like Aguarda, interior, really deep in the heart of Portugal, more like off grid in many ways. And you saw increase in values of like up to 30%, 20 to 30% of those properties that were normally selling for 20,000, 30,000 euros, a big land. Now they're on the market for 50,000. So that interior has grown. So don't forget that Portugal is very big, and there is lots of opportunities. And whether you're buying to invest in return on investment, living here, flipping it, there are opportunities. So I just wanted to throw that in because it is important, especially with the golden visa on the property funds.
Thank you, Antonio. I would like to get some assistance from Gary, probably. We have a lot of questions here. I know we have passed our time, our finishing time. What should we do?
I think it's in the interest of, because of the fact that people have scheduled the time allotment, we will answer those questions offline.
Offline, okay. So if you please send us, I've write my email there at the Q&A. Sorry, at the chat. If I will ask all our speakers if they can please do the same. Otherwise, you have Bruno email on the presentation PowerPoint, so you can send an email about golden visa, and all the other speakers, if they could please write their emails there, we can reach out to them offline. So we are closing. Thank you very much for everyone that has been here. It was a great opportunity, and once again, thank you to FIAPSI USA and Hudson Gateway Association of Realtors.
Thank you.
Thank you to